coming into the 2019-2020 NBA season, it was seen that the Toronto Raptors had little to no chance really to repeat any of the success that they were able to enjoy last year, whether it was even making the playoffs, making it to the conference championship, and making it to the finals in general. No one really even saw the bottom of that being possible, the ability for them to even make the playoffs. Some people counted them out. And, losing Kawhi Leonard, who possibly, even in just one season, became the greatest player to ever put on a Toronto Raptors jersey, losing him in free agency to the Los Angeles Clippers, as well as losing one of the best, probably top 10 three-point shooters in the NBA in Danny Green, losing him to the Los Angeles Lakers. Not only that, but guys like Serge Ibaka, Marc Gasol, and Kyle Lowry, those guys getting even one more year on their age clock, and having their contracts, having what they bring to the team, having that being questioned all through the offseason. And couple that with the fact that they didn't really bring in anybody. They didn't bring in any big names in the offseason. I think their biggest free agent signing was Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. So it would be fair to say that the statement that the Toronto Raptors are not as good as the team that they were last year is probably true. That statement is most likely true. Because the Toronto Raptors are not as good as they were last year. They're better. Now, when I say that the Toronto Raptors are better than last year, I do not mean at all that Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green leaving Toronto made them better from a talent perspective, because it did not. It obviously made them worse, but Kawhi obviously was an MVP candidate last year, and Danny Green, like I said, is probably a top 10 three-point shooter in the NBA right now. However, just because Toronto lost Kawhi and Danny Green's talent did not mean that they got experience for their young guys and even for some of their older vets. Guys like OG Anunoby, Fred VanVleet, and Pascal Siakam, I think with what Kawhi was able to teach them throughout last year and give them some tips, some pointers or whatever, through practice, through games, whatever he taught them, it's going to help them realize their potential and possibly give them even more potential for what they can do in the NBA. We're already seeing Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet have been pretty much the number 1 and 2 scoring options for the Toronto Raptors. I believe combined they're scoring about 42 points right now. And a guy who has not been getting a lot of, attention, but I think he probably after this season will get a little bit more, is OG Anunoby. He is only in his second year. He has played, I believe, the second or maybe the most minutes on the Toronto Raptors, which is good. He needs to get his development going. But he's become somewhat of a lockdown wing defender. He's obviously not shutting guys like Jason Tatum or LeBron James or whatever. He's not going to shut any of those guys down for a whole game, because no one can do that to any of those guys. But he's become a very reliable 3-and-D player, and I think he probably is the closest thing that they're going to have to Kawhi Leonard on the defensive side than many other teams really can present in general. And like I said, it's not just the young guys that got any sort of help from Kawhi Leonard. It's guys like Kyle Lowry and Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol who, all of those vets from Toronto, they've experienced the heartbreak of getting far in the playoffs and being part of teams that thought they had a chance to win the finals and just get absolutely heartbroken in the playoffs. Marc Gasol was on that Grizzlies team who had a chance to make the finals and play against the Miami Heat a couple years ago, but they lost to San Antonio. Marc Gasol and the Memphis Grizzlies just always ran into better teams. And that also happened to Serge Ibaka. The Thunder, when Serge Ibaka was pretty much in his prime, went against the Miami Heat when they had LeBron and D. Wade and Chris Bosh and all those guys for the Heat. They lost to Miami. They just did not have the talent, and they did not have the experience yet that Miami had to win that first ring. And Kyle Lowry has become the brunt of jokes for the past 3 or 4 years, which you can say he deserved it. You can say that he choked in the playoffs, but again, he ran into LeBron. And I don't know if you noticed, but no one has beat LeBron in the East in about 8 or 9 years. and it's looking like LeBron's probably going to make his way through the West this year. However, what those three guys, what those vets were able to get from Kawhi, what they were able to learn, I don't know if they'll be able to take. I don't know if they're gonna take a step back from last year. Couple that with the fact that their young guys behind them are gained a lot of experience last year. They became guys who now are able to step in. They played on the big stage last year. Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam, even OG Anunoby, were on the big stage last year. So the regular season isn't anything to them right now. They want to get back to that big stage and play under the bright lights. And they're very competitive. They can score. Anyone on this team can score. They're athletic, and they play great defense. I believe they're second in the defensive rating right now, and I believe they're maybe 10th in offense. So they have a complete team, both offensively and defensively, and they have both a mix of great vets who are able to make it through the regular season, and they have a great core of young guys who are able to not only score, not only defend, but they're athletic. They're able to, push the pace offensively. They're able to shut down somewhat their defensive opponent, and they have the experience. They have everything possible to make another run at the finals this year. This has all come from about a 3 to 4 year period where Masai Ujiri and the front office in Toronto have brought in not only talented guys, not only have they brought in talented guys, but they've had a coaching staff and they've had a scouting department, coaching staff. They've had everything in Toronto to make these younger guys, develop them into guys who can carve out massive roles in the lineup. Like I said, Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet combined to score about 40 points a night. OG Anunoby has developed into an awesome 3-and-D prospect on the wing. And even their new young guy that they're bringing in this year, Chris Boucher, has slowly but surely made his name as an athletic, rim-protecting big man, which he was making his name as that until DeMar DeRozan put him onto another planet with the dunk he had on him. But other than that, they've got other younger guys like Terrence Davis and Norman Powell who have been, solidly been quality role players for the team, and they, again, have shown themselves to be guys who can play within the flow of the offense, as well as be quality defenders out in the space. Masai Ujiri also needs to have a lot of credit for not just bringing in young guys, not just drafting quality talent, because a lot of guys can just draft quality talent, but also bringing in vets to fill out the roster. Whether it was trading for Marc Gasol at the last trade deadline, or Serge Ibaka a few years back, or signing guys like Patrick McCaw, who I brought up, signed just before the playoffs last year, or Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, who was kind of their big name free agent this past offseason. And not to mention, he's stuck with Kyle Lowry. When Kyle Lowry and DeMar were still around, he made the decision, I'm gonna move off DeMar because he can't really play in today's NBA compared to what Kyle Lowry can play in today's NBA as. And a lot of people criticized Masai Ujiri for that move because a lot of people thought Kyle Lowry was not a guy who can be the franchise point guard and lead a team into the playoffs, lead a team through the playoffs, and lead them to the finals. But, through every move that Masai Ujiri has made, through every move that Masai has been doubted and criticized about, most of the moves have panned out, and the players have made him look very good, and they've proved him right with his moves. Now, everything that I've brought up in this video really leads me to my main point of the video, which is that I think the Toronto Raptors have not only the young guys, but they have a core really to bring the Toronto Raptors into being the future dynasty of the NBA. And I'm not sure if it's easy to predict that they could be the type of dynasty that Golden State had, but because, Golden State, their first ring, Cleveland, was absolutely demolished by injuries, and the rest of their rings they had after they brought in KD. It's hard to emulate that much talent in one team for such a long period of time, but their young guys could become the big three of the future. and Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, and Fred VanVleet, and they could be a team that not only competes for Eastern Conference championships, but I think they could compete for NBA championships for really the next 3 to 4 years, maybe even possibly up to 5 years. They could be competing for being one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the NBA. And right now they're going to lean on their main vets like Ibaka and Lowry, but when the time comes to move off of Lowry and move away from Serge Ibaka, which I don't think that's going to be anytime soon, really, maybe after they make a few runs and they think that Serge and Kyle Lowry are past their prime and don't really think they have a use for them anymore. When that time comes, guys like Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet and OG Anunoby, I think they'll be very ready to continue the success of their predecessors. I think they'll not only be able to emulate the success, but they might be able to do it even better because they have a lot of talent, they have a lot of athleticism, and they have a front office that's putting together, year after year, they're putting together a very, very competitive team. They bring in the right vets. They don't go out for big free agents. They make the right moves. And even when they get criticized about it, their moves seem to work out pretty well. Alrighty, so that's going to be the video from me, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button. If you disliked the video, make sure you hit the dislike button. Any feedback really at this point would really be appreciated. If you have anything that you think I forgot or you just want to talk about in the comments, make sure you drop a comment down below. If you want to see more videos from me like this about either the NBA or the NFL, now that the offseason is here for the NFL, make sure you drop a comment down below about what you want to see and make sure you subscribe so you end up seeing those videos. But yeah, that's going to be the video from me, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.